Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in.
Okay, happy Tuesday everybody. We begin with a topic which will be very familiar to regular viewers as we continue to follow the local debt and fiscal crises. This topic has been covered a lot recently, so for today we will just take note of a Chinese financial media outlet Caixin cover story from yesterday about another possible hidden black hole of local government debt. This one through the manipulation of the unregulated structured bond market. We are now quoting the cover story, which was authored by several leading financial journalists at the outlet, directly. China is doubling down on stymieing the murky fundraising practices in the structured bond market that is exploited by shady fund managers and risky borrowers as the government steps up efforts to tackle the debts amassed by local government financing vehicles, which by some estimates have ballooned to 50% of the nation's GDP. The problem has become acute as a growing number of local government financing vehicles are struggling to service the interest payments on their mounting debts amid a sputtering post-COVID economic recovery and weak land sales. Consequently, they have turned to unscrupulous private fund managers who carry out these so-called structured issuances to help risky borrowers access funding. This involves low-rating issuers purchasing a portion of their own bond offering or having an affiliated party do so, artificially inflating the size of the issuance in an attempt to attract more genuine buyers. Local government financing vehicle structured bond sales may have reached 2.1 trillion yuan as of January 31st, according to Founder Securities. Less developed regions, including Qinghai, Heilongjiang, Guizhou, and Guangxi, may have over 25% of their local government financing vehicle bonds involved in such practices, the brokerage estimated. The wild growth has sparked concern among regulators. Caixin has learned that early this year, regulators conducted an investigation into bond-related products sold by futures companies and found that many local government financing vehicle bond-related products were sold to retail investors that are not qualified to make high-risk investments. Here ends the direct quote. These revelations have led some commentators to ask, are financial regulators in Beijing really aware of the true scale of local government and especially local government financing vehicle debt? The next economic story for today is also a theme we've been following for some time: youth employment. Yesterday, we covered the release of Q2 data, which was very disappointing. See yesterday's video for a deep dive into the numbers and the reactions from different commentators. What we didn't cover was the employment data, which we will look at today. And the situation is not positive. According to Beijing's own official data published yesterday by the National Bureau of Statistics, youth unemployment has surged to yet another record high in June. Quote, underscoring the increasingly dire job market that millions of fresh graduates face this summer and the pressure on policymakers to expand recruitment, end quote, in the words of one domestic financial commentary. In June, the surveyed jobless rate among people aged 16 through 24 in urban areas hit 21.3%, the highest on record. Incredibly, the unemployment rate is now higher than Italy's, an economy infamous for youth joblessness. The rate in China among all urban workers remained flat in June at 5.2%. The National Bureau of Statistics spokesperson expressed yesterday that the rate is expected to climb again in July, and indeed analysts are confident that this trend will continue through the summer as a record 11.6 million college students are set to graduate this year. This unemployed cohort is also highly educated. According to the Institute of Finance and Banking of the state-run Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, in 2021, more than 70% of jobless Chinese urbanites aged 16 through 24, had a degree from a higher education institution. As we've discussed in previous videos, a leading cause of the current situation among China's youth, in addition to the pandemic, has been Beijing's crackdown on several sectors which traditionally were major employers of recent graduates. These are technology companies or platform companies, real estate firms, and private tutoring companies. In a May note, Goldman Sachs also attributed the growing crisis to structural imbalance, as well as a skills and expectations mismatch. That is to say, students are studying subjects that don't have strong labor demand, whereas many sectors with labor shortages, especially blue-collar work, are not very popular among recent graduates. The fact that so many young, educated people are jobless, with job dissatisfaction high too among those who do have work, has led to nervous warnings from many quarters within China of potential social and political risks. Next up, a leak gives us a clue as to what the true death toll of the end of zero COVID was. Hey guys, if you enjoyed today's episode of China Update, don't forget to hit that like button. It's just me making these episodes every day. It's a lot of work, but your guys' support is a huge source of motivation. Subscribing and sharing is a huge help as well, and for those who can go the extra mile and help me keep the channel financially sustainable, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. Thank you so much, everybody, for the ongoing support. Recently, the Civil Affairs Department of Zhejiang Province disclosed various data for the first quarter of 2023 on its official website. It was discovered that among the data was included the number of cremated bodies during the period, 171,000, up 72% year-on-year, after several years of very modest, even flat, growth. After the discovery, the data was quickly wiped. As we've discussed in a previous video, the government has withheld cremation data from Q4 last year and Q1 this year. Though no official reasons for the rare move were provided, analysts largely agree that it was to prevent estimates of how many people died during the first wave of infections after the removal of zero COVID last December. Based on the Q1 Zhejiang cremation numbers, Hong Shenju, a postdoc at the University of Pennsylvania, published rough estimates putting a conservative death toll from COVID during China's first wave at over 1.5 million people. And finally, for today's episode, we have two meetings from last week which we need to briefly touch on. The first was the National Security System Commendation Conference. Politburo member and Secretary of the Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission, Chen Wenqing, delivered a speech at the event. Much of the language was what we would expect. However, what is notable is that Chen twice mentioned the so-called covert front in China, that is, undercover work. Commentators point out that this is rarely mentioned in public discussions. Indeed, even state media pointed this out, with state-run Beijing Youth Daily writing a long article on the point. With the meeting, the highly secretive Ministry of State Security also released a PR video about the so-called hidden heroes on the covert front. The video mentions a number of hidden fronts involved in, quote, consolidating and defending the party's ruling status, safeguarding national sovereignty, security and development interests, and upholding the developing socialism with Chinese characteristics, including during the return of Hong Kong in 1997, the 2008 Beijing Olympics, the Hong Kong disturbances in 2019, and the return of Meng Wanzhou in 2021, end quote, in the words of the just-mentioned state-run Beijing Youth Daily article. We don't know what the implications of this rare disclosure of covert work are. For now, we just take note of the development. The next event to take note of is the National Conference on Cybersecurity and Information Technology Application, which was held over the weekend. At the event, General Secretary Xi Jinping expressed, quote, the overall leadership of the party has been strengthened over the Internet and information technology sector. The mainstream public opinion in cyberspace has been consolidated and developed. a comprehensive internet governance system has been basically formed, and the capacity and system for safeguarding cybersecurity has been improving." End quote. She added that China needed to build a security barrier around the internet. This makes it clear what the conference and its policy priorities are: greater control over information dissemination online. Timed with the conference, China's Ministry of Public Security embarked on a week-long campaign targeting so-called online rumors. The ministry said that the nationwide campaign was, quote, "designed to better inform the public of the harms of misinformation." End quote. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a great Tuesday, and I will see you all tomorrow.